Hi guys, what's up? Alex here, and today we've got something a little bit different. Today we're going to be talking about the new Top Gear, which, well, you'd have seen, well, you might not have seen yet, so if you don't want to have any spoilers, don't watch the video, but yeah, we had the new episode, new season, just something a little bit different, and, you know, it's exciting to have a new season, obviously, a Top Gear, and two new presenters, two main presenters, which were Chris Evans and Matt LeBlanc. Something a little bit different, and obviously we're all expecting it not to be quite as good as the old Top Gear that we know and love. But I'm going to go through this video and go through the first episode of this new series and sort of just give my opinions on it. So the start I thought was a little bit cringy. I thought they were trying a little bit too hard to be like the old group, and that didn't work too well for me. I mean, I can see a lot of people would have just turned off straight away as soon as they sort of saw that part, but in my opinion, it did get slightly better with the Viper test, which was between Chris Evans and Sabine Schmidt, who was in, I think it was a Camaro as well, which it was kind of cool. It sort of reminded me of one of the old Top Gear challenges where they tried to get away from, like, was it fighter jets, where fighter jets were trying to like zap them or whatever. It kind of reminded me a little bit of that challenge back in the day, but it seemed to just sort of drag on that part of the show when they were sort of chasing each other around like the airport hangar. It seemed to go on for a very long time without actually getting much done, and you know, whilst it was, you know, had a few funny jokes here and there, and you know, obviously with one of the pilots like throwing up or whatever, it didn't add a huge amount to, you know, to be perfectly honest. But I've got to say, I'm going to expect it to get better over time as they get more settled into the roles, and obviously this would have been some of the first stuff that they shot quite a long time ago, so I'm hoping that obviously stuff will improve. Obviously, you know, watching Top Gear for a long time, and obviously watching the old sort of trio, it's kind of obviously never going to be quite as good straight away. Obviously looking forward to seeing what their show, was it the Grand Tour or whatever, looking forward to what that's going to be like when that's released. But that first car segment, it was okay. I wouldn't say it was anything special, it was okay, but as I said, it was a bit samey. You know, the same thing sort of kept getting repeated, and obviously chasing them around the airport sort of hangar, whatever. It got a bit tedious, and it sort of just kept on going on for a bit. I think it went on for a bit too long, which was, you know, it is what it is at the end of the day. I mean, they've cut out the news section, which is something that I always found quite funny, but I suppose if you only have two main presenters, it's kind of hard to have some sort of the banter that they had, you know, and there's three of them voicing all different opinions, and having just two of them there, I suppose the news section doesn't really make sense. You need to have at least three people to have, you know, bounce off those different opinions. But we next went on to the Reliant Robin trip, which was basically where they got Reliant Robins and they had to drive from London up to Blackpool, which is obviously a long distance. And I guess the main joke was LeBlanc obviously didn't know where Blackpool was, and you know, his car broke down, and you know, it was just like the first part of it was basically them just driving to Blackpool. Really, there wasn't that much going on. Obviously a few jokes. Obviously LeBlanc had to be put on the back of a tow truck, and then his car, when he went into Blackpool, was up in smoke. It was, you know, pretty much only just running his Reliant Robin, but he got there just about in the end. And you know, that sort of, I like those sort of parts of Top Gear. I think once they master it, that sort of stuff's going to be really fun. I mean, obviously, I'm not expecting it ever to be as good as the old Top Gear, but I'm hoping it's going to be interesting. I mean, as much about cars and all that sort of stuff on TV as possible. You know, the two different shows. I think hopefully it should be good. Hopefully they don't sort of cross like their, you know, the segments or whatever. Hopefully they don't have too many similar things. But it's inevitable at some point that they're going to test the same car at some point or something. But I do really like that. I like the rubbish car challenge, basically, you know, where they buy like old cars, and then I mean, I saw a little teaser of something like that is going to happen in this series, and that's cool. I mean, using like old Reliant Robins and try and drive them like hundreds of miles is obviously a bit of a challenge, and something, you know, it's interesting, but it didn't add a whole lot to be perfectly honest for me at the moment. It, you know, that part of the Reliant Robin trip wasn't too exciting, but after that they cut away to the start in the like rally car or whatever. It's a, you know, they don't go around the track anymore, they go around like this rallycross track, which is something a little bit different, and I've got to say, it's nice to have that, you know, something they started up, it's all a bit new. They don't just keep going with like, oh, it's a brand new car, same track, and they get the same, you know, a lot of the same people, and they've switched it up, so it's a bit more of a challenge, you could say, obviously on the rally track. And you can see like this, the mini rallycross car or whatever they've got, it's like flying about all over the place. It's kind of cool, it's something a little bit different, but I'm not gonna lie guys, I missed a bit of this segment because I was watching the end of the Indy 500, so didn't get to really watch the whole of the interview, but I saw them going around the track and all that. But Gordon Ramsay obviously setting the better lap time out of the two, and I think that should be quite cool. Seeing some of the not so experienced drivers go around that track would be pretty funny, and I suppose as more and more people come down the line and test out the car, it should be a lot of fun to see how slow some of the people are. But after that, they went on to talk about the Aerial Nomad, which was Matt LeBlanc's first sort of main segment by himself. And in my opinion, this was the best bit of the show. I actually really enjoyed this part, and I felt that when he was with Chris Evans, he was trying a bit too hard. I thought that's what I felt, at least, general vibe throughout the whole of this first episode of the series. He was trying a bit too hard, and when he was by himself testing out this Aerial Nomad, which is a really cool car by the way, I honestly thought that was the best part of the show, and I thought his review style was actually really interesting. Obviously, cracked a few jokes here and there, but he actually got to, he got into the car and actually did, some proper testing of it, jumping it all over the place. It's a really cool car. If you haven't seen it, definitely have a look at the new Top Gear, obviously. And, even if it's just that segment you want to look at, it's quite cool. I think it's about from 35 minutes onwards. And, he's jumping about all over the place, the dunes and everything. And they did a little challenge at the end where he had to try and get away from the paparazzi, which is kind of cool. So they had like a little drone, a motorbike, and then sort of this, I don't know what is it called, like a massive fan, like that you can sort of attach yourself to and sort of fly about. And I guess the challenge was the paparazzi guys, three of them, obviously three different people trying to get a picture, and none of them managed to do it because the area was just all over the place. It was super agile. It's a really cool car, not gonna lie, and I don't know. That's honestly my favourite bit. It's hard to tell if you haven't watched the series for yourself. It's kind of hard to tell what your personal opinions are. I mean, definitely leave your comments down below once you have watched the Top Gear. What are your thoughts? I'm not making this video to say, oh, I love it or hate it, but it's just my thoughts on the individual segments. And maybe if I do, you guys like this. Obviously, it's my first ever time trying to do something like this, and obviously it's not going to be the perfect video. But if you do think that you'd like to see more stuff like this in the future, I'd appreciate leaving some comments down below, and also your thoughts on the episode yourself. So the Aerial Nomad, I mean, definitely think that was a really cool segment. LeBlanc is definitely, in my opinion, by himself is, really funny, and some of the jokes are quite, it's just my sense of humour, that is, and I think that worked quite perfectly, that segment. But then they went back to the Reliant Robin Trip, or the UK versus USA challenge, and they did was it the Land Rover versus the Jeep, obviously the sprint race, and the Jeep obviously won that one, and we all expected that. And I think, with the Aerial Nomad, the last part of the show in general was the best bit. The Aerial Nomad, and then also the second part of the UK versus USA challenge. They were my two favourite bits of this episode. They sort of just started to... That first bit of just travelling to Blackpool wasn't really much, but then obviously doing these challenges, it was quite entertaining. I do feel that a third person does add quite a bit to the series, so I mean, I'm not sure down the line what they're going to be doing. Obviously they've got a few other presenters which didn't take part in this episode. Obviously they've got like Eddie Jordan and all that, so I'm sure they'll be making appearances in the next few episodes, but it will be cool to like a third person in some of the challenges to add that sort of extra dynamic. But at the end of the day, I've got to say, guys, it was okay. It was nothing amazing. I mean, I'm sure people are just gonna hate on it, but it wasn't It wasn't quite as terrible as I probably actually expected. I think those last two segments, the Aerial Nomad and the second part of the Reliant Robin Trip, I actually didn't mind them whatsoever. So, in my opinion, at least, it was a start. It wasn't nothing exceptional, but it was a definite start to hopefully something that will be become a good series. I mean, I'm not holding out hope for it to be an amazing series straight away, but once Chris Evans sort of settles into the role, and I think it can be a decent show. I don't think it's ever going to be as good as the old Top Gear and what the Grand Tour is going to be, but I think it can be alright. But anyway, leave your comments down below and your opinions. It's been Axel out here. Goodbye.